I think we're good on this side. Tiffany, you guys set over there?
We're good to go.
All right. Chair, that would be your green light. And we
Thank
are
you.
recording.
I will now call the October 7th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting to order at 5:32 PM. Ms. Tiffany Harrison, please call the roll.
Good evening and welcome to the October 7th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Open Session Meeting. Commissioners, please state present if in attendance. Commissioner Morales.
Present.
Commissioner Walker.
Present.
Commissioner Jarosik.
Present.
Commissioner Rhodes.
Present.
Commissioner Carney.
Present.
Commissioner Prager.
Present.
Vice Chair Krause.
Present.
For the record, a quorum is present with 7 commissioners in attendance. Commissioner Smith is not in attendance. I don't know, I didn't. So still call his name.
Usually we do.
Okay. Commissioner Smith. For the record, Commissioner Smith is not in attendance.
Thank you, Tiffany. Commissioner Rhodes will now lead us in the invocation, followed by Commissioner Carney for the pledge. Please stand.
Will you pray with me? Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and this opportunity to come here and serve. Lord, I pray for what's going on in our country with hurricane coming to Florida yet again. Pray for those residents there, keep them safe. Pray for all the things that we have going on in this nation and guide us in all we do and say here tonight and going forward. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now confirm the meeting agenda items. Are there any questions or comments?
Chair, we do have the request to table the one item 8.
In regards to FY 24-41-ZC, the applicant has requested tabling. May I have a motion to table? A motion's made by Commissioner Carney, seconded by Commissioner Morales. Tiffany, may we have a vote?
Commissioner Morales.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Jarosik.
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Carney. Commissioner Prager.
Aye.
And Commissioner or Vice Chair Krause.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries. The vote is 7 ayes, 0 nays, and 0 abstains. The motion carries.
Are there any questions or comments in regards to the meeting agenda items other than item 8? Since there is no objection, the meeting agenda items are approved by unanimous consent. We'll move on to item 4, election of chair and vice chair.
I don't know if you have a script for this one. What you'll do is you'll open up nominations for the chair. You wait until all nominations have been heard, and there needs to be a nomination and a second for each nomination. And then once nominations are closed, you vote on the candidate.
Okay. Nominations are open for the election of chair.
Make a motion for Becky Kraus as chair.
A motion has been made by Commissioner Morales and a second by Commissioner Carney to recommend Commissioner Kraus for the position of chair. Tiffany, can we have a vote?
We have to wait and make sure there are no other nominations.
Oh,
I know
I'm
we
so sorry.
discussed it in workshop. But at this point, you would say, are there any other nominations? And wait, if you get no response, then we close nominations. Can we get a vote?
Are there other nominations? Then we close nominations. Tiffany, may we have a vote?
Commissioner Morales,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker,
Aye.
Commissioner Jarrett,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Carney, Commissioner Prager,
Aye.
Vice Chair Krause.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries. The vote is 7 ayes and 0 nays. The motion carries. Congratulations and congratulations.
Okay.
And now we'll follow that same pattern for vice chair.
We will now open nominations for the election of vice chair.
Ryan Smith.
Second.
And are
Brother-
there any other nominations?
Are there other nominations? A motion has been made by Commissioner Morales and a second by Commissioner by Brenton, sorry. By Commissioner Walker to recommend Commissioner Ryan Smith for the position of vice chair. Tiffany, may we have a vote?
Yes. Commissioner Morales,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Jarrett.
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Carney. Commissioner Prager
Aye.
and Vice Chair Krause.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries. The vote is 7 ayes and 0 nays. The motion carries.
Since Commissioner Smith is not present at this time and I'm in that right position, we don't have to take the time for reseating. So we'll move on to public comments. Are there any public comments? If so, please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
And because we tabled item 8, if anybody is here for item 8, now would be the time to go ahead and speak on that zoning case.
And I'm not seeing any hands raised online.
Okay. There being no public comments, we'll move on to the consent items. On the consent items, agenda is the approval of item 5 and 6. If there are no objections, I will entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Carney and a second by Commissioner Morales to approve items 5 and 6 on the consent agenda. Tiffany, may we have a vote?
Commissioner Morales,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Jarrett.
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Carney. Commissioner Prager
Aye.
and Chair Krause.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
Now we'll move on to item number 5. Correct?
Yes. Item 7.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It is item number 7. FY 24 38 ZC. Hold a public hearing to discuss and recommend action on an amendment to ordinance number 2022 0045 and site development plan on approximately 5.55 acres out of 15.037 plus or minus acres described as the Station Cottages, Block 1, Lot 1 in the city of Temple, Bell County, Texas, addressed as 3200 South General Bruce Drive. The case will be presented by Principal Planner Cheryl Maxwell.
All right, thank you, Chair Krause. This basically shows the schedule that we're following. This item is before you today, and moving forward, the first reading of the City Council will be October the 17th and the second on November the 7th. And this shows the location of the property. This is off of I-35 and Avenue K. It's set back in the back portion of the property. Here's an aerial view of it as well. This little strip here is the general location of where there'll be a private access easement connecting this property to Avenue K. Just want to note on some of the surrounding uses, the property to the north is the City of Temple Salmons Golf Course. The property immediately to the west is also owned by the City of Temple. It's undeveloped at this point in time. And then you have Home Depot shown here in the view. And the other portion of this property is undeveloped at this time. So these are some pictures of the property. This is the view from Avenue K. Again, this is where the general location of where the access easement will be. This is a view of the property on site. And then this is a view from the golf course, kind of where the drainage and the drainage channel of the creek is located in the brushy area. These are views of the adjacent property to the north. Again, this is the golf course. This is Home Depot on the west side, and then the City of Temple property that was undeveloped. And then the surrounding property to the east and the south. Again, this is the general location of the access easement. This is the view of the surrounding property. And then this is the view of the Avenue K intersection with the I-35 frontage road. This little yellow spot right here is where we have our rezoning sign posted. So that, again, the access easement will be in this general location. So this is part of a larger tract of land. The 15-acre tract shown here was rezoned to a planned development with multifamily 2 as the base zoning district in August of 2022. At the time, this was proposed for single-family homes in a cottage-type development. It was also platted as the station cottages. The plans have changed, so now this back portion, the 5.55 acres, is proposed for multifamily development that's restricted to seniors. The site plan has been revised, so therefore review by the Planning Commission and the City Council is required. And the base zoning of the MF2 limits the height to 4 stories. 5 stories are proposed, so a PD amendment is also required to allow this development. Plans for the remaining 10 acres at this time are uncertain. When plans are known and they move forward, a site plan review by the Planning Commission and the City Council will be required, and also a subdivision replat. This is a tax credit project with the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. This is the site plan. The tan area is the proposed building envelope. It will consist of 94,421 square feet, 102 dwelling units. 54 of the units will be 1 bedroom, 48 will be 2 bedroom. It is restricted to residents ages 55 and older with income mix as shown here. These are percentages of the AMI, which is the area medium income. This was for year 2023, the AMI was $76,000. So again, 30% of the AMI, 50% and 60%, and then the unit breakdown shown here. As I mentioned, there's no frontage on a public street, but a private access easement is proposed to connect this property to Avenue K and the frontage road. A 41-foot pavement width with a 4-foot sidewalk will be provided, and this meets the entrance requirements for up to 150 dwelling units. The 41-foot width for the access easement will continue all the way to the frontage road, so there will be some improvement to Avenue K. You can also see in the site plan that there'll be some improvements directly to the east of the access easement, and it'll taper down to meet the existing width of Avenue K, which is 18 feet. Multifamily 2 allows a density of 20 dwelling units per acre. The proposed density is just under that at 18.38 dwelling units per acre. The UDC also allows 1 parking space per dwelling unit for elderly or for developments that are restricted to the elderly population. So this requirement is met. Also want to note this is in the I-35 overlay district, so there's special development standards that apply related to architectural elements and landscaping. The requirement is a minimum of 15% of the total area. The applicant will be providing 31%, and they'll also be providing landscape islands for every 10 parking spaces. A tree survey and preservation plan is also required, and this is currently undergoing development. The creek and floodplain area are intended to remain undisturbed, and this is kind of shown in the gray hatched or the gray pattern, the gray shaded pattern. So proposed amenities include on the first floor a conference room, a leasing office, and a mail room. On the second floor, a kitchenette, an exterior patio with a covered roof. On the third floor, a library, and on the fourth floor, a community room, and then some outdoor seating area with a fire pit. This is a view of the main entry. You can see the office will be on the lower portion, and this is the outdoor or exterior patio with the covered roof. This is a little bit different, I guess, type of development in that there's two levels to it. The front portion of the building will be 4 stories, and the back portion will be 5 stories. When I spoke with the applicant earlier, they kind of explained it. Probably an easier way to view this is that it's 4 stories, but the back portion will also have a ground floor level in addition to the 4 stories. But total height will be 5 stories for the back portion. They're also providing Juliet balconies on the top 2 floors of both sections. So this is the side view. Here you can see the 4 stories. This is the front over here. And then you can see the rear portion will have 5 stories, and it's got the Juliet balconies for the top two floors. And this is the front view. Again, this is the office and the covered exterior patio. The front view, again, being 4 stories, and then the back view being 5 stories. So with regarding to trip generation estimates, this particular use for a senior housing, senior adult housing facility, it's estimated at 330 weekday average trips. Provided a comparison of a typical multifamily housing was basically double that. Single family detached homes, the estimate is actually triple that. And then you got your single family attached homes at somewhere in between the multifamily and the single family detached. So this is a lower generating type use. And then over here we have the average annual daily traffic counts. This is for 2023. In this location, they're close to the intersection of Avenue K and the frontage road. This was, it's kind of hard to see, but 6,258. Again, that was in 2023. So with regard to the comprehensive plan, this kind of orange area is regional commercial. So this property lies within that future land use category. This is appropriate uses include regionally serving businesses. Apartments are allowed on a conditional basis with location criteria. The PD conditions and the site plan address issues related to the location and are consistent with the future development plan. And then we have a little snippet here of the thoroughfare plan, just basically showing that I-35 is a highway and there's no trails in this vicinity. Water and sewer is available to serve this site. You can see the blue is water and the green is sewer. We feel the PD amendment and the site plan are in compliance with the future development plan, the thoroughfare plan, compatible with the surrounding uses and zoning, and public facilities are available. So notice of the amendment and the site plan and the public hearing was printed in the paper on September 26th. It was also mailed to 20 properties within 200 feet of the initial, property, the whole 15 acres, since that was part of the PD. This is just a portion of the PD. So you can see the boundary here, the notification boundary. No responses have been received. The DRC did review this August the 6th, and no issues were identified. We do recommend approval subject to the following conditions. The conditions in the original PD ordinance would apply, except safety netting may be waived if the developer agrees to indemnify the city for any damage or injury from stray golf balls. Again, since this is adjacent to the golf course. The use and dimensional standards for the MF2 zoning district apply, except a maximum height of 5 stories is allowed. All requirements of the I-35 corridor overlay retail subdistrict apply. Compliance with the site plan, landscape plan, and building elevations. Minor changes can be approved by the planning director. Major changes would have to come back through the planning commission and the city council. Site plan review by the P&Z and the city council is required for the remaining portion of the property, that 10-acre portion that's not being developed at this time. Juliet balcony is required for the top 2 floors. I-35 overlay landscape standards apply, including the tree survey and preservation plan. Entrances have to comply with our design standards, which is basically that minimum 41-foot pavement width. Lighting in compliance with the glare section and a subdivision plat is required prior to the building permit. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and I believe the applicant is present also.
Are there any questions or comments?
So most likely there will not be a net to stop there and golf ball.
Probably not. I haven't really talked with the applicant about that, what their intentions are, but if there is no net, then they have to sign basically that waiver. And it looks like the way that let me go back here.
I was more curious.
Let me look at the site plan real quick here. Let me go back. Because the course is over here, so this kind of like has a side to it, so maybe there's less risk involved. Nevertheless, I know that there can be some pretty crazy shots going on, so,
Yeah, it looks a little safer than that other one. It's on that golf course.
right. But that is one of the conditions, either provide the netting or the waiver.
Has this been approved by the state already to move forward, or is this part of the process to get there?
I probably let the applicant address it. I believe that they have received preliminary approval to move forward.
About the entrance, how many exits are there? The in and out?
There's,
The
there's
highway's
only-
right there. It's a little bit.
Yeah, there is only one. In our entrance design standards, we allow, let me think a minute. Up to 150, you have to have two entrances or one enhanced entrance, the enhanced being the 41-foot pavement width, and that's what they're providing. So it does meet the code to have the one entrance that's, extra wide. And our fire department folks have reviewed it and they're comfortable with it.
That's the exit going to the 35, right?
Right, to Avenue K, and then it continues
the
on to
only
the
one?
frontage road. That's the only one, yes. If it's a concern, I'm sure you can add on some other conditions, but that it does meet the code. And that's again why they have the wider entrance.
And if I may add that also does limit what the developer or what the property owner with the remaining tract, the remaining 10 acres, it does limit what they can do with that, but certainly in terms of residential. So without adding a second entrance for development of the rest of these station cottages.
So technically, if it went further after this with doing the other 10 acres, would you require another entrance or exit?
It depends on what they're proposing, but if it's residential and it exceeds the 150 dwelling units, so
It would, right?
yeah, most likely it would trigger a second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there other questions or comments? This case requires a public hearing. So we'll now open the public hearing. If you wish to speak and are attending in person, please come to the podium. If you're viewing the meeting online, please virtually raise your hand. Provide your full name and city of residence for the record. Limit your comments to 3 minutes, please.
Seeing none online.
Being none present, we will now close the public hearing. If there are no other questions or comments, we'll entertain a motion.
Approve item FY-24-38-ZC as presented by staff.
Second.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Carney and a second by Commissioner Rhodes to recommend approval or disapproval, to recommend approval of item number 7 FY-24-38-ZC to the city council per staff recommendation. Tiffany, may we have a vote?
Commissioner Morales,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Jarosek.
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Carney. Commissioner Prager.
Aye.
And Chair Krause.
Aye.
Vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
We'll now move on to item number 8, FY-24-41-ZC. I'm sorry,
That's what you just did.
We already
Tabled that.
tabled 8. I am so sorry.
No need to apologize.
I'll get there. We'll move on to item number 9. FY-24-46-ZC. Hold a public hearing to discuss and recommend action on a rezoning request from Office 1 to Plan Development Neighborhood Service on PD-NS on 0.860 plus or minus acres described as FedEx subdivision, Block 1, Lot 4 in the city of Temple, Bell County, Texas, addressed as 5902 West Adams Avenue. The case will be presented by Principal Planner Cheryl Maxwell.
Thank you. Again, this is the same schedule as the previous case. This one anticipates moving forward to the city council on October the 17th and November the 7th. It shows the location of the property. This is, has frontage on Adams Avenue, just to the west of Beaver Loop. Here's an aerial view, showing the, Pepper Creek Hike and Bike Trail off to the east side. There's a residential neighborhood, Casburg Addition to the north, and then AutoZone, to the west. And this, I think we mentioned it probably during the workshop. This should probably look familiar to several of you that were on the board in August. This case was presented for a straight rezoning at that time to neighborhood service. The Planning Commission did not recommend this favorably, so the applicant chose to withdraw it before it went to the city council meeting. They're resubmitting now, instead of a straight rezoning to neighborhood service, they're resubmitting to requesting a planned development with neighborhood service as the base zoning district. So at the PD, there are conditions intended to address some of the concerns of the neighbors, and I will cover those a little bit later in the presentation. These are photos of the rezoning site, the existing building. This is the front. This is the east, a view of the east side, a view of the west side, and then the rear of the property. This is the adjacent property to the north. Again, this is the residential area. This is the house right up against it. And you can see the building, a little bit taller building over the fence line. And then this is the adjacent property to the west. We have the AutoZone shop. And adjacent property to the east, again, this is the Pepper Creek Hike and Bike Trail and a drainage channel. And then property on the south side of Adams Avenue, it's a large tract of land with a single family home. So again, this is zone office 1. You have the property to the north, zone single family 1, and then AutoZone is PD neighborhood service. That was back in 2014, I believe, when that rezoning occurred. The applicant is purchasing the property to lease for retail use, possibly a restaurant or other uses. The existing building was constructed in 2016 and the interior has not been finished out. At this point, there's no expansion of the building envelope proposed, but it may be considered if needed by the tenants, depending on the tenant's needs. And the property has already been platted. Parking, the setbacks, and the screening requirements are satisfied. So the property has access via a shared driveway with the adjacent property shown here. There's also an internal driveway running east-west parallel to Adams Avenue to provide internal circulation and minimize the amount of traffic that goes onto Adams Avenue. City water and sewer are available along Adams Avenue to serve this site. The colored or the shaded blue represents various stages of the flood zone or various years of the flood zone. The building itself is located outside of the flood zone. This is one of the tables in your packet. This is a comparison of uses that are allowed in the current Office 1 zoning compared to those that are allowed in neighborhood service. Probably one of the bigger changes is that there are more retail and service uses that are allowed in the neighborhood service zoning district. And then also with regard to a restaurant, it's not currently allowed in Office 1. It would be allowed with neighborhood service. However, a drive-in or drive-through, none of those would be allowed in the neighborhood service zoning district. Oh, and just also want to point out too, in the current Office 1 zoning, a height of 3 stories is allowed. For neighborhood service, it'd be restricted to 2.5 stories. And these are some trip generation estimates. For a casual restaurant would be 486. A high turnover sit-down restaurant, 536. A variety store would be 318. Medical equipment store, 30. We're showing a few others like a fast food drive-through, coffee or donut shop with drive-through, pharmacy, drugstore with drive-through. Again, those are businesses with drive-through windows, which are not allowed with this proposed rezoning. But it does give you kind of a perspective of the traffic that would be generated by those uses versus what is proposed by the applicant. So this shows our comprehensive plan. This property is located in the yellow section, which is residential and neighborhood services. For this land use, appropriate uses include detached and attached single-family homes, neighborhood serving retail, personal service, and restaurant use without a drive-through. neighborhood service zoning is considered appropriate in that future land use category. The black striped patterns is the mixed use activity center overlay. This provides for more intense integrated mixed use development with a primary focus on enhanced walkability. So this property does lie within that overlay as well. So the neighborhood service zoning that is requested is consistent with the comprehensive plan. And this is just a little insert of the thoroughfare plan showing that Adams Avenue is a major arterial street. So we believe that the requested rezoning is in compliance with the future development plan, the thoroughfare plan, compatible with surrounding uses and zoning, and public facilities are available. So notice of the rezoning change and public hearing was printed in the newspaper September 26th, and notices were mailed to the 12 properties within 200 feet. We did receive 3 responses in disagreement, shown here with the Ds, and I believe their response form has been handed out to you as well. The DRC did review this September 23rd and no issues were identified. So we do recommend approval, subject to the following conditions. The use and development of the property is limited to the neighborhood service district, except the height is limited to 1 story. Again, typically in the neighborhood service district, you could go up to 2.5 stories, but this limits the height to 1 story. A drive-through window or any of these, like a pickup window, menu board, none of those are allowed. Any additional windows are prohibited along the north side of the building. 1 door per business may be allowed with the typical door size, unless required by the fire code. Any additional openings on the east and the west sides are limited to a height of 10 feet. Development will comply with the site plan. The director of planning may approve minor changes. Major changes have to come back through the review process by the planning commission and the city council. Expansion of the building envelope up to 30% is considered a minor change. Any expansion over 30% would require the review and approval by the planning commission and the city council. Any restaurant would be closed, must be closed by 9 p.m. Lighting shall comply with our glare section in the UDC. And on the east side of the building, additional screening is required along the north property line with evergreen trees every 25 feet, starting at the dumpster enclosure. And I'll just go ahead and show that to you. This is the site plan. This is the building envelope. Here you have the parking lot. So the additional tree screening would be provided along this red dashed line. There's a 10-foot utility easement that runs along the rear of the property, so that kind of limits where the trees are able to go. So this is slightly just outside of the utility easement. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is also present if you have questions of the applicant.
With the restaurant.
Hey guys,
With
this
the
is, can y'all hear
Will be
me on the
serving
phone?
Alcohol or wine or anything?
Jack Berger.
Oh, he's represents the applicant.
Hey, everybody.
Jack, can you hold on just a second, please?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, Jude, go ahead.
I was just wondering if the restaurant was going to be serving any alcohol.
That requires a conditional use permit, so it would have to come back through that process. It's not allowed by right.
Was the auto zone also neighborhood services when that got approved?
It's
Is
it was
that all?
rezoned in 2014 to neighborhood service with planned development. I'm not sure if it was, I'm not sure
I
what it
don't
was
know.
before that,
Just-
if it was office. I don't recall. Oh, the resident, long-term resident is informing us it was zoned agricultural district. And then went to neighborhood service, PD.
On the 3 notices that were turned in, do you know what the objections was?
There should be copies in front of you. 2 of them did not attach any comments. The one from Mr. Eller, I believe, and he's present in the audience, had had a long list, I believe.
The building owner or possible building owner is over online, or
Yes,
That's
and
correct.
also.
you want to speak to what?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And Lindsay's there and she can speak to it too, but we just want to introduce ourselves. You know, we're there's 3 partners that own this company. We're based out of Houston. We're not a large corporation, and you know, these are the type of developments that we do in all sorts of cities and towns. And we, you know, our goal is to create, you know, win-win opportunities. We're not trying to come in here and disrupt the neighborhoods. You know, in this specific deal, there's a lease in place and it's got another 5+ years left with National Credit. So HCA, which is, I believe, the largest healthcare provider, hospital owner in the country, is who bought the original tenant out. And so what we're trying to do is find ways to redevelop this property so it doesn't sit vacant, for another 5.5 years, which is a real possibility. And the lease is attractive. It's got corporate credit on it, but what we want to do is work a buyout with that tenant, but we can't do that unless we know we can redevelop this into something other than an office use. There's not enough optionality there. The risk is too high. So our hope is that we can create a situation where we protect the neighborhood, we protect, our investment, and then we also protect this area, and we don't have a, vacant building for the next 5+ years, that attracts all the negative things that we know, whether that's homeless or, drug dealings or whatever it is, right? Like vacant buildings, in our experience, do not lead to positive outcomes. And so that's kind of the unique situation here. And our goal is to kind of put the guardrails on ourselves and anyone else down the road that could own this, to where, the neighborhood is protected and it's not a nuisance to it. So I wanted to make those comments.
Yeah, thanks, Jack, for that. My name's Lindsay Adams. I'm the Director of Development with BCS Capital Group. And as Jack kind of alluded to, we're a family office, privately owned. And with each of our real estate developments, we prioritize the needs of the community first and foremost, which is why we reached out to Cheryl and the team at the city to kind of talk about early on what our plans were to re-tenant the building. And we fully understand that our success depends on having the support and community members. So that's why we've taken the community's concerns seriously. And as Cheryl mentioned, have updated our original ask of an outright rezoning of the property to neighborhood services to a PD with conditions that have essentially been prepared in an effort to address the privacy, loitering, and noise concerns, as well as the other concerns of the neighbors specifically associated with restaurants. So I think Jack mentioned this too. We are in no way looking to create a nuisance and are really committed to creating a space that both prioritizes the needs and values of the community. So currently we are in very early discussions, and Cheryl, you can go ahead and pull up that rendering if you don't mind. Very early discussions with Heartland Dental. And have prepared this rendering in an effort to kind of showcase how the building could be remodeled and improved upon from its current form. Ultimately, our goal is to lease and update the building and get it in operable form. Because as you know, when a property sits vacant, just as Jack mentioned, it can unfortunately attract undesirable elements such as homeless, but also trash accumulation, overgrown vegetation, and other issues in general that can just detract from the neighborhood's quality, which we know that the community and city wants to avoid. So all that being said, Heartland Dental has not yet committed to the site as of today. We're really hopeful that they will, but we really just need to be prepared in the event that they decide not to move forward. And in order to deliver the property to its highest and best use, we need the flexibility that comes with this PD when marketing the property to potential tenants. So we believe that this optionality in the allowable uses would allow us to find the best tenant or mix of tenants that will thrive in this space, which will only enhance the neighborhood and contribute to local economic growth, which is essentially what our ultimate goal would be. So we're committed to delivering a Class A aesthetic tenant mix and user experience. But again, we need just the optionality here that the rezoning would provide in order to make that vision a reality. And we're worried without it that the building would likely sit vacant for a considerable amount of time. And I also did want to point out, I believe that Cheryl mentioned that the property next door, the AutoZone, is a PD. I think there's a property across the street that's a PD. And then all along West Adams Avenue, there's multiple retail establishments that are both zoned general retail and neighborhood services. So we appreciate your consideration and we're hopeful that you can see how this rezoning can revitalize a currently underutilized property.
So the rendering that you had of the dental location, does that include making it another story, or is it just
One story.
raising the facade on the front?
That's right.
it?
One story.
So obviously, if it was a dental location, that probably could be that's your number one goal as far as.
That would be our goal. And again, we're just here to have that optionality because they haven't signed a lease with us yet. This would be, ideal best case scenario if we could make it work.
Do you have other properties with this Heartland Dental?
We have not done a deal with them yet. And Jack, you maybe have represented them on other deals, but BCS Capital Group has not.
Okay.
That's correct. We have not done a deal, but they are very active. They're a great user. And as Lindsay mentioned, it would be ideal for us and the neighborhood because it fits within the current zoning, but it's still too early to put all our eggs in that basket. So just need the optionality to make sure we get a quality user here and not have it sit vacant.
This case does require a public hearing, and I know that we have 4 signed up that would like to speak. So now we will open the public hearing.
Thank you.
If you do wish to speak and are attending in person, please come to the podium. If you're viewing the meeting online, please virtually raise your hand. Provide your full name and city of residence for the record.
Okay, name is Andrew Eller. I am in the property just north of the building, and very much adjacent. While I would say that this updated from the NS to a PDNS is better, it still does not address all of the issues I've looked at. Limiting it to 1 story, that's great. No drive-through, that's great. But the biggest piece I want to pick up on that piece on this is while you're not adding any more windows to the back, you are adding possible doors. Those doors are very close to the back. That back side of the property also is used basically for drainage. The drainage comes off the roof, runs between our properties, and anything that's done in that area could create more flooding risk for us as well as the building because of the way the drainage works in that area. The other piece to that is when you put doors on the back of a building like that, employees tend to like to use that for smoking areas, so they step out back and smoke. And that's something that would be right across basically the other side of the fence from my property, absolutely not wanted. So I do have a concern with that. To me, it would be better if those doors were just set for emergency egress only in the plan development, not allowed for anything else. Well, I do like the idea of a dental office. The dental office itself is office 1. You can put a dental office in the current zoning. I would also like to make sure everybody understands, I've been in this property for 30 years, adjacent to this building. And when I moved in, this was an office 1 building or an office 1 property. It was never rezoned. It has been that way since I moved in over 30 years ago. So it has not changed because of the traffic pattern in that area. There is a potential for high traffic. That's why it was done as an office to keep down on the traffic. The other thing I'm concerned about is the evergreen trees. While I like the idea of screening with the evergreen trees along that area, again, if they're placed anywhere near that drainage area, it could cause more flooding in that particular type of area. And then finally, the good thing about the PD was the 9 p.m. for restaurant closures, but I'd actually like to see it even earlier than that, because anytime a restaurant is open late, you get a lot of noise afterwards, and that is very close to my home. The lighting in the parking lot shines into my backyard. I know there's things in the PD that would help prevent that, but currently right now that shines into the backyard. And then we also have lots of trash and rodent problems as it is now. And I believe one of the other neighbors is going to speak to that. So I want to make sure that that's actually looked at. So while it's better, we still need more things put in place for plan development. And I don't see why it needs to be moved from office 1, especially if there's a client already potentially looking at it as an office, because it does make an excellent office location. Finally, the last thing I'd like to bring up is the alcohol issue. Absolutely no alcohol. I understand you can go back for a conditional use permit, and that's typically what happens is somebody will put in a restaurant and come back later and ask for a CUP so they can do alcohol later. And with alcohol that close, especially with right behind us is the creek, all it takes is somebody to get drunk, buy something and go out back. The other piece is no tobacco, no CBD, anything along those lines should be allowed in that type of building. And I think that should be allowed, placed in the PD requirements if you're going to zone it PD. So with that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Eller, question, have you, with all the flooding that we had this past year, did you have any issues?
Yes, I did. Yes, it came into my yard pretty substantially along that side, along the fence.
Along the fence?
Yes.
And
That's what I
then
said.
as long as the Western auto zone,
Yes.
has been any problems with that, noise or,
Yeah,
obviously the lights are not great, but
Yeah, the noise, the lights, people will park in that parking lot, turn their stereos up in their cars. And just, it actually hurts my wife considerably because of the solid vibrations that come from it. Those are problems. The other thing you'll notice is right next to between the two buildings, the AutoZone and the current building, there is a little retention area that's supposed to take the runoff from the AutoZone. Yeah, and it's being shown there. That actually does not do too much. Most of it runs right behind the two buildings and right down, including the two buildings further up towards Beaver Loop. You'll actually see all the trash, everything comes running down through there, especially when it rains. And then it just goes right to the creek. Behind my house, I'm constantly picking up trash because of this.
Other questions for Mr. Eller? Thank you,
Thank
Mr. Eller.
you.
My name is Jeff Lawyer. I live at 6001 Wildcat Drive. When we were getting ready to do this, Jack called me numerous times and kept saying, hey, we need to put something there. And I said, we're not against it. It just depends on what you want to put there. And I said, the one thing that we're against is a restaurant there because of the creek. Now, I want to show you all something. Since they built Small Cakes and Little Caesars, let's see, Cheryl, this is the Eller's house, right?
Right.
All right, since then, I pulled a snake out of their barbecue pit. They have rodent boxes all the way around the house. Try having company come over to your house and explain why you have to have rodent boxes around your house. The house next door to that, 3 raccoons and 1 possum. I have him putting rodent bait up in his attic and his hot water heater. The house here had a massive rodent problem. This has all happened since Small Cakes and stuff had come in. A massive rodent problem. I had a massive rodent problem here. And on this note, let me say this. This retention pond, you wait till the next time it floods and come over and you want to find the driest spot in Temple, Texas, it's the retention pond right there. So what our main concern was the whole time was a restaurant. You have a creek there and things come up out of the creek and they're going to go to where the best smells are. So if you go down along the fence line down there, you'll find that there's trash. There's a pizza place down there. The trash winds up on the ground where the garbage receptacle is. I brought this up at the last meeting, and I know we have a couple new commissioners that weren't here at the last meeting, but it's been a disaster. Pizza boxes with pizza in it laying on the ground. There is actually 2 plastic cups put out every night for drinking water for the critters that don't want to drink that nasty creek water. They can come down to the restaurants and drink fresh tap water. Now, I talked to Jack, like I said, a few times before this came up, and he kept saying, look, we're just trying to find something to put in this building. We've got a long-term lease, not a big deal. The day of the council meeting last time, Jack called me again, and Jack's sitting here listening on the phone so he can disagree if he wants to. He called me that morning and said, hey, we're getting ready to go. How's it going to go? And I said, Jack, the only thing that we don't want is we don't want a restaurant. Now, he's been telling us the whole time that that wasn't in the plan. And after I said that, he said, we have to have a restaurant there. So he's known all along. So he puts up a thing saying Heart Guard or whatever that was, a dental office or whatever. But the plan was all along, they had to have a restaurant there. If you put a restaurant there, we're going to get flooded with things that come out of there. I killed a rattlesnake on the front door of that building a few months back. It was just a juvenile. I killed another rattlesnake in my yard. There's snakes all over there, and they follow the smells up and they go to the restaurants. So we're not trying to hinder anything. I know when you keep saying you're trying to enhance the neighborhood and make it compatible, that's not true. If you put a restaurant there, the people that live in our neighborhood are people that live there for years. I've lived there 24 years. I'm retired. I'm going to probably die in that house. I'd like to die of old age and not a rat bite or a snake bite. So all we're saying is, yeah, let them put something there. We have no problem with that. But a restaurant, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Thank
Hey,
you.
Jeff,
Thank-
can I,
Mr.
can I,
Lawyer-
can I'm not gonna argue, because let's just take out restaurant. I mean,
I'm
we don't-
sorry, I
we
just
aren't-
got new hearing aids and I can't hear him that well.
I was gonna say, Jeff, it's been great getting to know you, and I didn't realize
I
we
don't know
got,
how we can know
little
each other over the
signal.
telephone.
But yeah, I'm good with no restaurant. I mean, we'll just take it out. I mean, we're not talking to a restaurant right now. I didn't say we have to have one. It would be nice to have that
Yes, you did, Jack.
flexibility.
On that morning, you said, I have to have a restaurant. Your exact words.
Well,
Refute
I'm
that.
telling you right now, we're good without it. So
So is he saying he's gonna take it out?
He's saying,
Taking it out.
yes, he's
Yeah,
saying he
take
will
the
remove the
restaurant.
restaurant.
Don't
Right.
sell drugs there and I'm happy. Yeah, if they take the restaurant out, I mean,
Yeah, we can-
it's 90%
PD
of our
can
concern.
eliminate
The other thing is,
use.
when you all built that other area down there, the city said, we'll take care of traffic, we'll take care of the trash, we'll take care of flooding, and we'll take care of privacy. And I'm saying this because the two new commissioners didn't get to hear this last time. It can take 5 minutes if you're the first car at the stop sign to pull out on Adams in the morning. If you're the second car, it can take 10 minutes. The trash on the other side of the privacy fence is ginormous. You should walk back there just one time and look at all the trash. Look at the pizza on the ground. No wonder things are coming out of the creek to eat down there. And the privacy fence, my house is the one right next door to AutoZone. They built that fence. It was so bad that the city came out and said, well, we can't do anything because it's not laying down. AutoZone came out and said, this is the worst built fence we've ever seen. And they replaced it with one that was even worse. All of the sections have come apart. They didn't use plumbing lines. Everything is pulled away. And the city can't do a thing because the city's law is the fence has to be laying on the ground. AutoZone on their side of the fence has put a 2x4 over two sections, and that's the only thing holding those sections up. Take the 2x4 off and it would fall on the ground. But I can't do that. So we get these promises and they just don't seem to be followed through on. Now, Jack says he's going to take the restaurant off. I would hope that y'all can make sure that that happens. If the restaurant comes off, we're in a lot better shape.
Yes, if I can address that. Especially for the new commissioners, because this is a plan development, a base rezoning. If this were just neighborhood service without the plan development, then you wouldn't be able to have these conditions. But the plan development does allow for a condition, which could include prohibiting a restaurant. So sounds like that has been offered. That is, can be added to the list. In fact, some of those items may be affected without having a restaurant, but one way or another, we would work with the applicant and neighbors as needed, but ultimately you all could add restaurant prohibited, and that's very enforceable.
One last thing I'd like to say, Cheryl, it's been really nice working with you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? I have two other names that have signed in.
I'm not seeing any new hands raised.
Okay. Then we'll close the public hearing.
can I make
If
one
no
more
one else.
comment about the engineering side of things? We can have our engineer. We will have our engineer. We close on the property, and hopefully if things go well, we'll close on the property in a couple weeks. But we can have our engineer. We can link up, dig into just what's currently there and how we could make it better. Obviously, we don't want the property to have flooding issues. We don't want the property to cause flooding issues to our neighbors. That's an ongoing problem that won't get better, most likely. So let's link up on that. Obviously, that doesn't have anything to do with the conversation we're talking about right now in isolation, but we are, sympathetic to that, and it helps us too. So let's see what we can do to fix that and make it better.
We will now close the public hearing. If there are no more questions or comments, I will entertain a motion to add the addendum or an amendment to FY 24 46 ZC prohibiting the use of a restaurant in this space.
Make a motion for FY 2446 ZC as stated, as you just stated, with no restaurant written in as with the PD. Anything
Yes,
else? need, Kyle?
I would recommend the motion be as presented by staff, but amending condition 6 to say no restaurant use is allowed.
As stated by staff, but amendment to say no restaurant.
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Rhodes and a second by Commissioner Morales to recommend approval. This is gonna get based on amending this item 6, limiting the use or prohibiting the use of a restaurant in this space. I was talking about item number
Oh,
6.
you're talking about on that.
I'm
Okay.
talking about on
Condition
what the,
6.
what's been presented to us as conditions. Condition number 6. Tiffany, may we have a vote?
Commissioner Morales,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Jarosik.
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Carney, Commissioner Prager.
Aye.
And Chair Krause.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 10, FY 24 48 ZC. Hold a public hearing to discuss and consider recommending adoption of an ordinance authorizing a rezoning from mixed use to planned development, mixed use located in the city of Temple, Bell County, Texas, addressed at 209 South 18th and 911 East B Avenue. The case will be presented by Senior Neighbor Planner Christina Strickland.
Good evening, Commission. All right, so this is coming before you tonight and it'll go to City Council first reading October 17th and for the second reading on November 7th. On your screen on the vicinity map to the left is just showing where this property is located. It is on the corner of B Avenue and 18th Street. And then on the right is the aerial. The current aerial shows that the property is undeveloped. However, there are 2 fourplexes or 2 4-unit townhouses that have been constructed and that are currently almost finished. So a little bit of background. This is an infill development opportunity covering 2 parcels with 2 4-unit townhouse style structures. The applicant has worked with staff during pre-development meetings to accommodate the Ferguson Park Neighborhood Plan recommendations. Multifamily must be built to the International Building Code or the IBC. It's the Commercial Building Code, which requires a sprinkler system. Townhouses are single-family attached or on separate lots and can be built to the International Residential Code, which does not require a sprinkler system. These units were built as townhouses and to the IRC, which requires separate lots and no cross utilities to include electrical, plumbing, or HVAC. They all have to be individual. There is a concurrent subdivision plat for 8 separate lots that is dependent on this rezoning. DRC reviewed this on September 3rd and no issues to the rezoning or the conditions. So on your screen on the right-hand side, it is zoned mixed use and surrounded by mixed use zoning. For the dimensional standards, the only thing that we're changing is just the width. Mixed use, single family attached dwelling units require a 25-foot lot. Originally, at the time of construction, these were under multifamily, so they didn't have the individual lot separation requirement. And now they are going to be sold as individual lots, so they do need to have a plan development to address the difference in width. And all other dimensional standards are remaining the same. On your screen is a site plan. So this does cover 2 properties. They do have shared access and shared parking through alley access and access along 18th Street. So on the left side is the units that face Avenue B and 18th Street, and on the right side is the alley access and 18th Street units. In blue is the alley access and the shared parking. In orange is the 5-foot sidewalks that'll be along Avenue B and 18th Street. They are putting in 5-foot sidewalks. And then the green is the landscaping that is going to be provided with these. And I did just want to also call out that the applicant and developer has created trash can pads for all of the units to have their trash cans be placed there rather than just erroneously on the landscaping. These are some subject site photos. So you can see that the in the pictures that these are already constructed. Again, they were appropriately zoned in mixed use, so there was no need for rezoning to come before you. They are going to be sold off as single family attached, so they have to be platted as separate lots. So that's why that's coming before you tonight. So they're currently being constructed. And on the left-hand side is the view from B Avenue, and on the right-hand side is the view from the alley. Some additional site photos on the left side. This is going to be the alley access. It'll be improved. And then in the middle is the shared access and parking. It doesn't look like it right now. They're under construction. So that'll of course be finished once the structures themselves are completed. And then on the right-hand side is the future home for the sidewalk, as well as the trash can pads. So the site's very much under construction, so there's a lot of busyness going on in these photos, but everything will be cleaned up once the development has been completed. Some surrounding site photos. On the left side of the screen is a recently built single-family homes to the north that do align with the architectural character and rear access that the neighborhood plan called out as recommendations. And then on the right are some surrounding duplexes that are to the south of the subject property. There is vacant property to the west of this development, and then to the east is some single-family uses. A little bit of additional background for our future development plan. This is called out as urban residential, which does recommend to conserve and act as transition existing residential areas with an urban character while focusing on pedestrian walkability. The thoroughfare plan, B Avenue and 18th Street are both local streets, so there are no recommendations that have been made through this plan. However, the developer working with staff has provided sidewalks along 18th Street and B Avenue. So this plan is, or this this zoning request is in the Ferguson Park Neighborhood Planning District, and some of those recommendations are alley access with rear parking, where applicable. Sidewalks and planting buffers are encouraged for pedestrian accessibility. Some architectural standards can be gabled roofs, double Georgian windows, and a multi-layered facade articulation. And the plan does recommend high-density housing and infill housing, as well as compact single-family housing. So this is in line with the neighborhood plan. And for our compliance summary, this zoning change request is compatible and in compliance with all of our plans. Notification of rezoning, 17 notices were sent out to property owners within 200 feet. To date, staff has not received any notices in agreement or disagreement, and the newspaper printed a public notice of the public hearing September 26th. So staff does recommend approval of the requested rezoning from mixed use to mixed use plan development, subject to the conditions below. Rear alley access, rear parking, single family attached development with a minimum lot width of 18.5 feet, a 5-foot sidewalk along 18th Street and Avenue B, a 5-foot planting buffer between the sidewalk and the street, and compatible architecture to Ferguson Park Neighborhood Planning District. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any, and our applicant is online as well, should you have any additional questions.
I especially like the back rear parking.
It is very exciting. Thank you. We worked very closely with this applicant and they were very accommodating to all of the recommendations through the Ferguson Neighborhood Planning District. So definitely a win for neighborhood planning.
Other questions or comments? This case requires a public hearing. We will now open the public hearing. If you wish to speak and are attending in person, please come to the podium. If you are viewing the meeting online, please virtually raise your hand, provide your full name and city of residence for the record.
Seeing no hands raised.
We will now close the public hearing. If there are no more questions or comments, I will entertain a motion.
Item FY-24-48-ZC as presented by staff.
Second.
A motion has been made by Commissioner Carney and a second by Commissioner Jurassic to recommend approval of item number 10 FY-24-48-ZC to City Council per staff recommendation. Tiffany, may we have a vote?
Commissioner Morales,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker,
Aye.
Commissioner Jarosik,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Carney.
Aye.
Commissioner Prager,
Aye.
Chair Krause.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
Move on to item number 11, FY-24-32-PLT. Consider and take action on the final plat of Harvest Farms, a 29.52 plus or minus acres, a 167 lot, 8 block, 7 tract residential subdivision located in the Nancy Chance Survey, abstract number 5, in the city of Temple, Bell County, Texas, addressed as 340 and 480 South Kegley Road. The case will be presented by Principal Planner Jason Deckman.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. We'll move right into the presentation. I'll note that representatives from Republic EDS are here tonight if you have any questions. So this is 29.5 acres, 167 lots that was part of a PD ordinance. It was dated 23, but it was approved in January. Couple things about the surrounding area and the site plan. First is the large Encore substation and then overhead electric lines that run diagonally across the property. That's affected part of the plans, as well as the large area of floodplain and drainage off to the west with Pepper Creek. There's a thoroughfare plan amendment that is baked into the PD ordinance. We'll show you that on the map shortly, as well as the sidewalks, trails, and open space. So you can see that, you know, the green is shown on the site plan for open space, open park land, and the blue is the future alignment for the Pepper Creek Trail. And this is located at the Belton ISD. And I did skip over my overall vicinity map, but it's on Kegley, not too far from Wildflower Country Club. And we show that in the site photo. So up on the left, there's your substation. You can see the overhead electric in the lower left with some of the nearby apartments, and those high tension lines march off into the distance. On the upper right is the nearby Village on Pepper Creek apartments that are under construction and coming in. And then the lower right, you can see down along Kegley, looking across to part of Wildflower Country Club, although I don't claim to know which green that is. So the plat, I've highlighted some of the areas on the plat to show where they match up with the PD site plan. So it's attached single-family homes. A few of those shown in blue are alley loaded, and that's because of the proximity to the entrances on Kegley. So they have the two widened entrances per the subdivision entry. But in terms of not having a ton of conflict points, right as you come off of Kegley and enter the neighborhood, you've got some alleys so they can turn in the alley and then back into their drives and unload their groceries and get out of everyone else's way. And it doesn't create a bottleneck if there's an emergency and fire, police would have to get into the neighborhood. The 3 retail lots are shown in that orange color. There's some particular PD conditions that were discussed during the rezoning of what uses would be allowed, where drive-throughs, if restaurants were allowed, they'd have outdoor seating. Those would be the 2 front lots, would allow some drive-throughs. In the back would be more neighborhood serving retail, could be a restaurant, but would not be a drive-through restaurant. And that's part of the PD ordinance. And the applicant is requesting, they're going to grant the trail easement with the plat. There's a request in the system for a cost share to build that part of the Pepper Creek Trail, as well as some of the other amenities that are going to go in with this development. The Parks Department has weighed in and said, yep, they're in favor of giving that exception to the fees, because what they're going to get is about $1 million worth of improvements. On the Topa utility plan, there were several sheets that are in your packet. I included this one. One of the things that it does show, besides the location of the sewer lines, is some overflow parking. That could be for people using the open space, or maybe trying to overflow from the businesses, that there doesn't become a parking problem. Or even if it's for the attached homes, then their guests have somewhere to go. So that's, I felt, worth pointing out. So the thoroughfare plan, we do show that community collector crossing project in the PD ordinance. Council already approved an exception for them to not dedicate that community collector. And that's something that staff worked on with the adjacent project, that the plat for what was the Trojan rezoning has now been submitted as Wildflower Villas. That's in review. We're working on getting that collector alignment through the southern project, not through this one. And as I started with, council approved the thoroughfare plan amendment, so they don't have to show that community collector. And on the right-hand side for the utilities, you notice that sewer line runs fairly close alignment where the future trail is. That'll give the city access if there's maintenance that need to be done on the water line, or excuse me, the sewer line. But it doesn't follow it verbatim. In other words, we don't want the trail to be right next to the manhole for the 24-inch sewer line. So there's some separation there, but you'll still have the access. So it kind of achieves 2 goals. Gives that pedestrian connectivity and the city access to maintain our facilities. And there's 12-inch and 6-inch water lines along Kegley that they'll be tying into. And in closing, staff recommends approval of the final plat of Harvest Farms. I'll take any questions you may have.
You have questions, comments?
And there's just one access road to go into this?
There's 2. Let's go back. So there's one here on the north and one here. So there's an entrance on either side of that Encore substation, and they connect through.
Okay. And there's a fence along between the Pepper Creek apartment, or whatever the name of those apartments are going to be. I forgot the name of them.
The Village on Pepper Creek. Yeah, they've got a fence around that development. Okay.
No more questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
FY-24-32 PLT as presented.
Second.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Carney and a second by Commissioner Walker to recommend approval of item number 11 FY-24-32 PLT to City Council per staff recommendation. Tiffany, may we have a vote?
Commissioner Morales? Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
Commissioner Jarrett?
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Aye.
Commissioner Carney?
Aye.
Commissioner Prager?
Aye.
And Chair Krause.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
Move on to our final item for this evening. Item number 12 is FY-24-46 PLT. Consider and take action on the final plat of Gwendolyn's Place, a 12.57 plus or minus acre, 42 lot, 3 block residential subdivision located in the Henry Millard Survey, abstract number 552 in the city of Temple, Bell County, Texas, addressed as 4170 Cedar Creek Road. The case will be presented by Senior Planner Shelby Smith.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair and members of the Commission. So just some background information. This plat is for 12.570 acres. It's a 42 lot, 3 block residential subdivision. It is again 42 lots specifically for duplexes. So the reason why this is coming to Planning and Zoning Commission is because it doesn't qualify as a minor or add-in plat, so it does require the Planning and Zoning Commission approval. For the zoning, this was recently approved by council, a rezoning from agricultural to 2-family to allow for the duplexes. I do want to note that the lot sizes do exceed the minimum 2-family standards. The smallest lot size is 9,600 square feet. The largest lot size is 20,649.73 square feet. This was also recently annexed into the city. Originally, it was the 16.776 acres that were annexed into the city, also approved in collaboration or in existence, I guess, with the rezoning. And then also the comprehensive plan amendment. This also was approved by council recently on the same schedule, going from originally it was business park and now it is residential neighborhood services. And you can see from the aerial map, it is located off of Cedar Creek Road. And to the west of the property is existing Longview Estates neighborhood. This was reviewed by the Development Review Committee on September 3rd and was administratively approved on October 2nd of this year, with the understanding that the Cedar Creek Road upgrades and water supply infrastructure would be addressed with subsequent submittals and also during the construction plan phase. For utilities, you can see there is a 12-inch water line on the east in alignment with Old Howard Road, and there's also a 10-inch sewer line near Old Howard Road as well. For park fees, this development does require $225 per new dwelling unit. And again, Planning and Zoning Commission is the final authority. There were no exceptions that were requested. And this is a picture of the final plat. Again, it's 42 lots, 3 blocks, residential. And just to note, this was before the annexation, so you can kind of see the city of Temple borderline compared to the ETJ. And then this is the utility plan as well associated with the plat. Staff is recommending approval of the final plat of Gwendolyn's Place. And I'll pause for any questions and note that the applicant's also available if there are any questions.
If there are no questions or comments, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion for approval for FY-24-46 PLT.
Second.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Morales and a second by Commissioner Rhodes to recommend approval of item number 12 FY-24-46 PLT to City Council per staff recommendation. Tiffany, may we have a vote?
Commissioner Morales?
Aye.
Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
Commissioner Jarrett?
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Aye.
Commissioner Carney, Commissioner Prager,
Aye.
and Chair Krause.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
Is there further business for this evening? The meeting is closed at 6:51 PM.